Welcome to Pods with Posh and Paul, a podcast designed to inspire and challenge listeners through story, experience and insight. To face adversity, learn from suffering and discover how to embrace life with a heart filled with love and gratitude. We are so thrilled to have you journey with us and can't wait to share your stories. Join Sue O'Callaghan and Joanne Webb as we disrupt the theory that everyone has perfect lives.
Hi, welcome and thanks so much for listening. If you've ever wanted to be a presenter, if you've ever wanted to tell your story, or if you've ever just wanted to get up on stage, then this is the episode to listen to. We have with us today one of our own personal mentors, Andrew Eggelton of the HeART of Presenting. With 26 years of experience in front of and behind the camera, on stage, TV and film, Andrew has created a style of presenting that is taking the world by storm and sees presenters effectively unlearning what they've been taught previously and instead replacing with a style that feels effortless and is an extension of who they really are. Not only does Andrew travel the world helping presenters, coaches and thought leaders changing the way they present, but he also has an amazing closed Facebook group, and every 6 weeks he runs a world famous Facebook Live challenge that truly changes how we present from day 1 to day 10. Andrew encourages people to be true to themselves, to stay present and to be exactly who they are on stage and off stage. Andrew Eggelton of the HeART of Presenting takes presenters from good to world class.
Andrew, we are absolutely delighted to have you on board today. We're particularly interested because we've both met you online. I know that you're encouraging so many people and training them in public speaking, but coming from a place of heart and truth and authenticity. So Joe and I are all about authenticity. So would you like to just tell the listeners, first of all, what it is that you're doing and what is it that you are representing?
Sure. Look, I guess what I'm doing is traveling around the world and run workshops and retreats and on programs, helping companies with their public speaking and presenting the camera. And I know that sounds quite generic and people talk about public speaking or presenting the camera, but I come from 26 years now of experience in film and TV. And through that journey, I had this desire to find a way to give my audience all of me instead of just the facade, the face, the technique, so to speak. And from that, I wanted to see a style of presenting that was really congruent with who you truly were, that was an extension of, or an expression of who you truly were. And people being able to present in their own way and in their own style. So that is what I teach effectively. And it's catching on really fast, as you might have noticed, because the days, I believe, are numbered. I mean, there's probably always a place for it, but the days are numbered for me where you're told how to say it, where to say it, where you stand on a stage, where you point. It is now being able to get out of your head and drop into a place where you can get into what I call flow, or being a conduit for infinite wisdom. And that's when we discover words and things, when we discover words, sentences, and parts of what it is that we do that we didn't even know that we knew. And this is when those words come from that place, they are touched with your essence. They've been your vibration is attached to those words. That's why those words hit your audience in a place where they can feel it more than people who are technically good presenters.
Yeah, because I mean, when you see a good technical presenter, they're entertaining to watch, but sometimes there's just no depth to what they're saying, is there? Whereas when you see somebody who actually talks from their heart, you actually get caught up in this story with them, don't you? You know, you hold your breath at the right time, you feel your shoulders tense, you feel them relax, you get involved in their story, and it's they take you on a journey, don't they?
It sure does. And look, when you're coming from this place, I mean, one of my steps in my methodology of my style is head to heart. It's very simple. And it's not just about storytelling. It is about making sure that the words that are being used are being chosen because they're the ones that are waiting to come up. So what happens on stage or on camera is people feel the pressure to speak, and to fill the silences with something. And normally those words are not as effective or as powerful as the silence itself. So instead of even having to tell a story, when we allow ourselves the time and space to choose that word that is just sitting here, and I'm pointing to my, I like heart, but it's not really the heart, is it? So I don't know, it's something here. That's where it feels like it comes from. And when those words are given the chance to almost put their hands up and go, I'm waiting for you to use me. And when you articulate those words and you do it on stage or on camera, and they start to flow, and that's what I call flow. And that's when you're tapped into something far greater than just yourself. And your audience then is witness to something truly unique. Instead of something rehearsed, they're getting to see something that is just happening now. And it's still on topic, right? It's still on topic. I'm not just talking about anything. But it's me or someone I teach is articulating something brand new. It's been given to them as a gift then. And when I do it, I can hear it in the back of my head go, holy shit, this is good. Wow. Are you getting this? You're getting it, man. It's you. That's what I teach. That's what I'm guiding people to.
So, Andrew, you say that our days are numbered when we talk about this formulaic method of speaking. Can you explain why, or tell us more about the fact that we're looking much more nowadays towards heart and connection? Why is that more relevant now? Why is the business world, the education world, politics, law, everybody that's seeking that heart connection much more? Why are we in this period of transition, or what do you think's happening?
Oh, look, I mean, there's a million people who are better explaining this than me. I'm just in this part. I mean, people will tell you we're heading towards 5D, or we're becoming far more aware of ourselves or what we are. For me, I just look at that from a presenting point or an artist's point of view, a craftsman's point of view. And I believe there's a bit of a rite of passage. And at the beginning of the rite of passage is that at first you suck. It doesn't matter what you're doing. At first you're not very good. And, we have to get over ourselves. And Olympic athletes I coach say exactly the same thing. They go, what if they jump from one sport to another, which many do, and you go, wow, they must be just so talented. It's like, well, they just understand at first I'm going to be really shit at what I do. And that's okay. But if I improve tomorrow, I'm going to be less shit and less and less and less until they get to a point they're going, okay, now I'm quite good. They just speed the process up, right? And then you go into, after at first you suck, you go into a period of imitation. And this is where you see people imitating their heroes or people who are very good at what they do. When we do that all the time, I used to do that as an actor back in New Zealand, and you see that all the time with people on stage. You're like, oh, they look they're copying Anthony Robbins, or they're copying Melanie Robbins, or they're copying Gary Vee. You can see it a mile away. Then we go into what most people would call mastery, but mastery is technical. So after you've started imitating, you go, what if I do this properly? So you learn the technical side of stuff. Where do I stand? What do I do with my arms? How do I get people? This is when people, you get the typical, in the first 5 minutes, you get people putting their arms up. The speaker's getting, and hands up if blah, 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 hands up. And this is the part that makes me cringe. Do you know what I mean? It's like presenting 101. Hands up if, and you're going, oh my God. Okay. And it's just, for me, it's just weird. There's no attachment. There's no connection to that. It's just like, it's like, for me, it's condescending. It's like, be my puppet. And so the technical is the mastery for most people, because you can learn how to master the technical. And that's where most coaches, and I'm not pulling down other coaches, it's just where most coaches teach, because it's a very copy and paste thing to teach. Do you know what I mean? I get taught this, I can pass this on. It's very copy and paste teaching and presenting. And when you do it well, it works well. Do you know what I mean? When you do it well, it works well, and you add NLP and things to that as well, and it becomes something quite powerful. After that, boredom strikes. You will get bored with doing that. 100% you'll get bored. And I work with these presenters all the time, and I have to untrain them. They want to be artists. They've just gone, oh my God, going on, knowing my lines, practicing, knowing where to stand on stage, how to manipulate my audience, has just become so dull. How do I now do this as an artist? And so you start to go, how far can I push this? What else can I do with this? And this is where it becomes fun. And after the artist, there's a point, and this is where it really got fun for me, is where I realized it was infinite. And that how far can I take presenting in this craft and this style that I've created and how I see it being done became this infinite piece of rope. And so each day was how far down this rope could I get myself every single day. And that's what gets me excited. Like how far, what can I do differently? You know, how do I do this in a way that is true to how I keep seeing it done in my head, and then passing that on to others.
So it's fascinating because, you know, if you watch formulaic people speaking, it comes to a point where they've mentioned the facts or the history behind it, and then they come to tell their own personal story, and that's often the place where you connect straight away, isn't it? They've drawn you straight in, so you might be slightly switched off, but the minute they start to tell a story or personal experience or speak from heart, you connect and engage in such a different way. And that's what you're doing in your work, isn't it? You're drawing people in, you're teaching people to build connection through story, through authenticity, through truth. For people listening that don't know how to connect with HeART, how do you start to do that when you've been on a process that is very taught?
Well, it's interesting. You just to be clear, I love telling stories, and I do teach people how to tell stories in my training. But telling stories is not how I get people to connect with HeART. So this is how I get people. In fact, I never start a talk with a story. I never, and I teach in my retreats, when I teach anywhere, I hardly ever talk about a hero's journey or a story. You know, because you know that 99% of presenters are going to start with their story, right? Like it's a given. It's the hero's journey is the first thing that most people get taught. So then why would you start with it? You know, when 99% of speakers start with it, and you're at a speaking summit and there's 5 speakers in a row, why would you want to start the same way as everybody else? You know, so that's one reason. But the main reason is stories enable people to connect with you, to relate to you, to see who you are. And also a great story really pulls you in. But what if the words were heavy with your vibration that you chose? What if your words were, I'm trying to find heavy words here so it really comes. What if your words were soaked in your vibration? Like when they came out, they were dripping wet with your vibration. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or your essence. And so when those words hit you in the audience and they have your vibration attached to them, what do you think happens to the listener? They feel you. You can't not. Do you know what I mean? They feel you. So instead of trying to pull them in using a story as such and trying to weave a story, which can take 5, 10, 15 minutes, I don't have that much time on stage. If I've got 35 minutes on stage, I'm not wasting 5 minutes or 10 minutes on a story. I'm going in. Do you know what I mean? And the faster I can connect with my audience, the better. And that, for me, is getting into flow. So for me, to answer your question, when I'm in my head on stage, I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say. I'm trying to remember what's next. I'm trying to remember, you know, what is the, when you're copying and pasting, you're trying to remember lines and deliver them. What I do is I give myself clear points of which I want to touch on with the audience. Around that clear point, which will be my topic at that stage, I'm allowing myself the uncertainty, the certainty of not being certain, of not knowing what I'm about to say. I know my stuff inside out, remember that. So my backup is that at any stage I can go back to what I know. I've said it 1,000 times, I can come back to what I know. But I'm going to give myself the opportunity to get into flow where I find the words that are fresh and ready for today's talk. What do these people want to hear? What is waiting for me to be said? That's what I mean HeART. And when that starts to become activated in a talk, you become authentic and very vulnerable. And that is what the audience, the mask is gone. There's no mask. I'm not trying to pretend anymore. If I'm waiting for that word to come, I can't have a mask on. I have to be very, very present and wait for that word to raise its hand and then give it air. And then when it starts flowing, I know 100% every single time my audience has been touched by those words. Is that different than what you expected? Is it?
It's not necessarily about having to tell a story, but sometimes we connect with people when they are real, and when people sometimes tell their story, they're completely true, moved through emotion, as opposed to facts. They're in the place of emotion. And my question was really, how do we connect with that place? Because I'm thinking about a couple of times Joe and I said, oh, we knew that was going to happen and we didn't act on it. There is that voice, isn't there? There's a voice constantly shouting out to be able to speak. How do we connect with that? Is it practice? Because I know online you run courses to teach people to do this over 10 days, don't you? Do we need to practice? How do we do it?
With that question, do you mean in a presenting sense?
Yes.
So the question was, is it practice to get in to be able to speak from your heart?
Yeah, so on your 10-day challenges,
Yep.
The people that participate are transformed during that period of time. Their ability to speak and get a message across at the end of 10 days is very different to the beginning. So does it need practice?
Yeah, it does. 100% takes practice. It takes practice because to be authentic means to be the same person that brushes your teeth. To be authentic means to be the same person on camera as on stage as you are when you're ordering coffee at a cafe. And the same person that you're having a cup of tea with your friend. That's authenticity, right? So the same person is the same person that goes on stage. I mean, that's authenticity, or when you're presenting on camera. And what we do automatically when we go on camera or on stage is we feel that we have to put our mask, of our professional mask or our best foot forward mask. Now, if the question that I posed to people was that what if there wasn't a best foot forward mask or your perceived best version of yourself? What if that best version of yourself was every day anyway, and then that just walked on stage? So, I talk about world class a lot, right?
Yeah.
I take presenters from good to world class. Well, you can't be a world class presenter if you're not a world class human being. It's really simple. Otherwise, then you go from being an okay or a good person to going on stage and be a world class presenter. It doesn't work, because then you actually have to become something else. So I love that congruency. So this is why I teach a lot of expansion and personal development within my coaching as well. So yes, to get out of your head, which is what keeps you out of your heart, is getting past that self-consciousness and that worrying about, am I smart? Do I look good? What are people listening? Does this make sense? It helps to know your topic really well, so you're not having to always think about it. So the one thing that keeps us out of our hearts is being in our heads and overthinking everything.
So basically what you do is you get people to trust themselves. That is, to me, that sounds like the basic essence of what you're doing. Because, somebody can come to you, they know what they want to get out to the world. They know that they've got a message, whether it be their story or whether it be their expertise, whichever the case. But you basically get them to trust themselves.
Bone deep sense of trust.
Yeah. And I just think that's amazing, because obviously, we've both Sue and I have been on speaking courses and sales courses, whatever the case may be, and there's that formulaic thing and you hear the same thing over and over again. And basically you're just tearing all of that down and saying, just go out there and trust yourself. Just go and stand on the edge and jump and see how it goes.
You know what's amazing is on the first day of retreats, I get people up and speak, and 99 out of 10, at least 9 out of 10, 9.7 of people will have this fantasy or idea of what presenting looks like, and they'll get up and they'll present what it is that they do, and it all sounds the same to me. It doesn't matter if you do Excel spreadsheets, yoga or sex training. It's all the same. It all sounds the same to me. It goes over my head and my eyes start to feel heavy because I listen to it all the time. Now, as the days move on and we get to that last day, they've stripped all the stuff off. And quite often on the last day, they'll get up and speak and they'll come from that place again, and I'll just stop them and I'll just go, just come back to you. What was wrong with the energy that you stood up and, I felt a bit slow. Come from that slow energy. How does this feel? And then they just speak to you like they had over breakfast and coffee, how they walked into the room as them. And then next minute they're delivering their talk and you're going, you can just see the people leaning in. They're so engaged, and it doesn't matter what the subject is on. It doesn't matter.
I love it.
Two of the best talks I've ever seen were both on the same thing, outsourcing and Excel spreadsheets. Now, you tell me how you make that interesting. I'll tell you, because their words and what they were saying were just hitting us between the eyes, or between whatever it is here in the chest.
So do you think there's a direct correlation between the journey they go on with you in public speaking, learning to speak, and actually the journey they go on in their own private life? Do you think one translates into the other? So over the period of the retreat and the following 6 months, a year, they're then searching for a more authentic way of living because of what they've also learned in terms of public speaking?
Yeah, 100%. Yes. Yeah, people go on. Yeah, it's a lovely question. I think you see that in the 10-day challenge, but you see that in the training is people have a whole new outlook on life. You know, because not only do they realize that they can present as just them and that is enough, but they also start realizing that they can do the rest of their life like that. Their business can operate like that. You know, their business can operate like that. Their lives can operate like that. And of course, you know, adding that world-class part to it is I'm constantly asking them, what's the gap between where you are now and where you want to play? Like, where do you want to play? You know, what level do you want to play at? Because it's up to you. Fine. Okay, you want to play up there. Now what's in the gap? And fill that gap.
So I find what you're talking about, Andrew, really interesting, because I've come from education in secondary schools for many years, where we see children and teenagers having to conform to a system and an establishment, and it gets to teenage years where they want to rebel away from it, but then they don't know actually how to find their identity separate from the family they've come from, the expectations of society, and that formulaic way of being in an establishment. What would you say to teenagers listening? How can they actually step outside that formula of the world and actually be fully real, separate from, say, a public speaking course that they can come on? How can they step into their true identity? How do we give them permission to be real, and how do they find that?
I've just been doing research on this for actually the people that I train, and of course, you know, we don't actually fully have identity into our early 30s. You know, we're actually an identity to hang our head on. This is who we are. So, I mean, I'm always just trying to figure out why I was so all over the show in my teens and early 20s. So you're asking how could they find their identity sooner, or what would help?
How do we allow individuals to step outside of a system and nurture them to become fully true with who they are inside and connect with that person?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer right now.
I'm interested because clearly you're undoing a lot of people that come to you. You're breaking down
probably years of institutionalized thinking, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and giving people permission to connect again, or for the first time, not even again, to connect with who they really are. You're actually opening and you're holding space for people to do that. How can we, outside of your course, do that, where we can actually come to a place where we can strip off us everything that's been put onto us to be left with the beauty actually that's inside all of us innately? We're all beautiful individuals. How can we come?
It's permission. It's permission, right? I think back to teens and 20s, and it is a rebellion against it. You try to strip it off by pushing it and throwing it away and being rebellious, and of course, which just makes a mess, to be fair, really, doesn't it? It makes our lives. I remember going back to myself. I speak for myself. It made life harder, not easier.
Yeah.
But being able to have a space, or being able to know that you have permission to do things your own way. It's a really challenging one for me to answer, because every time I'm coming up with an answer in my head, I have this other side going. I counter question to that, which is why I'm being careful of what to say. I'm saying here, having permission to listen to who you feel you are and take actions. And then, of course, I remember what it was like, and I see teenagers and people in their 20s who come to my classes, and they are looking for that guidance. They're looking, even though they want permission, they're also looking for people who have done it, been there and done it before, so they can make their life easier as well. So they're looking for role models and things. So, I mean, something I wish, if I could go back, is to have had myself a mentor earlier.
Absolutely.
A lot earlier. Like a mentor in my early 20s would have been fantastic. I waited till kind of my early 30s really to have a proper mentor, and then constant coaches from there. But I wish I had that a lot earlier.
And the ideas of mentors are lovely, aren't they? Because I remember somebody saying, how do you find a mentor? Do you go and look for an advert and pay for somebody? And the response was, actually, we have many mentors in our lives. We don't just need one. And it might be friends, families that we know, people in society that we respect. And we can just go to them and say, look, you really encouraged me on my journey. Would you mentor me? And it might be that you have 5 or 6 different mentors, and at some stage just one. But it's a question of just, maybe it's someone we know just saying, would you take time once a month to meet with me and just have a coffee, because I'm inspired by you and I would like to walk with you on some of my journey.
I think that's such a fantastic idea. Yeah, we do need more than one mentor. There is that broader range of personality and skills and problem solving. Yes, and I like your suggestion there, and I think that's a really solid idea of simply just asking someone, look, I really admire what you do, or how you handle things in life, or I feel you're a good role model. Do you mind if I spend a little bit of time with you, a little bit, not so you're sleeping in their garage or but just asking. And I think, look, good people realize that they needed mentors and are happy to become the mentor. Good people are, and I mentor a couple of people for sure, and I don't charge for it. They're just a couple of young men that I know need that right now in their lives. So I just do it because I realise I wish I had done that.
Totally. And Joe and I have both participated in one of your 10-day challenges, and I guess then we were seeking you as a mentor to take us through that 10 days, to hold us as we went on that journey with you. So it might be just for a short period of time. But my next question to you is, you can't do this work holding space for other people to find their identity in speaking unless you've done the work yourself. Can you tell us a bit more about your journey that you've been on from those teenage years to now, to be able to do this work?
Really good question. How would I? I've always been a very deep thinker. You know, and I've figured out things myself. So all of my training has come from literally me working out ways to get the most out of myself. And then as I got older, I started to write down or take note of the process that I used to do this, right? So I'm going to give you an example of, this is where I guess where it got more sophisticated. So like at the beginning of last year, for example, this is how I work things out. I started realizing that people that I were teaching were becoming really good presenters. And something then, what they weren't going out and doing then was getting work. And I was going, how can you be such good presenters? I've been teaching you for 6 months, like you are really good. How are you not getting speaking gigs? And I clicked and I went, you're still the same person fundamentally, right? And if you're staying the same person fundamentally, you're making the same decisions. And you're making the same decisions based on emotion. And this is where teenagers trip themselves up, and people in their 20s too. God, all of us, really. But emotions are high at that stage. And emotions are past. You know, they're held in the body and they're from the past. So when we make decisions based on past, we're getting that tomorrow. We're getting what we had today tomorrow. So my presenters were going out and effectively making decisions as who they were, in a way, how they always have been, meaning they would get the same people, same opportunities, same experiences, nothing new. Mm-hmm. And they were wondering why they weren't getting any speaking gigs. And that was my big epiphany. I mean, so in my workshops now, I need to figure out something that changes them in that moment within 10 minutes, because that's all I've got to spare. So I was like, okay, I'll take them on a journey of 10 minutes, and I'm going to take them on a journey of the imagination into the future, and into this one moment where they realize that this is what they were born for. This one grand moment where the emotions overwhelming them, the whole, the people, if you were on stage, it would be that moment where you're on stage with Oprah, perhaps, and the audience is clapping and you've got tears coming down your cheeks because you're like, holy shit, this is it, this is why I was born, this is everything I was made for, this is why I went through all this shit, I'm here. I can die tomorrow, I'm here. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I can die a happy person. And so I just sat down and I went, how will I do that for myself? And so I just went, okay, I'm going to, 10 minutes, 5 questions. I can take over 5 questions. And then I spent a long period of time, like a week, just sitting in front of the stereo, finding music to play that to. And I did a test run at a workshop and I went, oh, that worked really well. So then I started finding music producers. And in my head, over this time now, I had started to create a feeling in my head of this piece of music that was very dramatic. And it had 3 big crescendos that came in with lots of strings, and it was nice and dramatic. And so I got that made. And I got it made for me. And so this music, every time I used it, was just tipping me over the edge and so clear what I was seeing and feeling. And then I started playing that in my workshops. And people were going on journeys. Like when I spoke here in London just recently, 150 people, over 100 people would have been beside themselves. They were in tears. They had seen that vision. And then to you to stand there and going, I just made this for myself. So I make those things for myself all the time. So I go, how do I get from here, point A to point B? And I create that, and then I map it out, and then I use that as part of my training for people. Mm-hmm. So that's how I constantly do it. I'm constantly figuring out how to do it for myself, and then I pass what I learn on. And I just do that going to say without thinking, but I do think. I just do that in a natural way, like it comes very naturally to me. I think and think and think, and I figure it out, and I push through it and find a way. I don't know if that's helpful, because it's kind of like this is just, you asked how I do it. That's how I do it.
No, it's beautiful, and actually it's truly authentic to who you are, and also it's like a really amazing message to people, because lots of people go on certain journeys within themselves, and they use tools that really help them, and then they don't pass them on to other people. And look at that the one powerful thing you've just explained to us. As you were telling us, again, I had my heart beating, I was feeling it, and I could even hear the music. Probably not your music, but I could hear what I would want played. And what a great tool, because it works, because the formula's in your head, it worked for you, and therefore why wouldn't it work for other people? Absolutely, I love that.
And I do, because you're also, you're empowering so many people, Andrew, but at the same time, I think the best teachers, as we're teaching, we're learning so much more about ourselves. And as we're learning, we're ready for the next stage to take them to as well, aren't we? Which very clearly you're doing on your journey. So, Andrew, how can people connect with you or find you? You've got a Facebook site. Have you got a web address as well?
Yeah, Facebook group is The Heart of Presenting, funny enough. The Heart of Presenting. And web page is andreweggleton.com.
And you quite regularly run your Facebook challenges, don't you? Your 10-day challenges?
Yeah, I run them a lot. Yes, every 6 weeks. So we've got one starting on Monday the 9th of September, and then we just keep going. And
quite often regular people come back and do it again and again and again, don't they?
Yeah, some people have been doing it 7-8 times. I don't have to do it myself, do you know what I mean? I run it. I don't have to do it, but I do it every time, and this is what's funny. As I learn more and more and more each time myself, so my question is, why would I not do it? Mm-hmm. If after 26 years I'm still learning every time I do 10 days of Facebook Lives, why would I ever say no?
Totally.
And Joe and I would highly recommend...
Absolutely, highly recommend. Because for me last time, I didn't present every day, which was the one thing I held my hand up and I said that. I just didn't do it. Although we're going to take the challenge again, aren't we, from Monday? But we're going to do it together this time, because we worked together, so we thought, let's do a little bit of a twist on it and let's do it together, because we need to start getting out there together a little bit more. But the thing I watched people's journey, and I found it quite breathtaking. There's just some people, and the confidence they had by day 7, 8, 9, and 10, they were like different individuals to the first day. I was like, it was just so amazing to watch. I loved it.
And I think the greatest thing for me about it was you structured it by holding people back from trying to say too much, trying to tell everybody who they were, what their story was, what their business was. You actually held people back. You held them back. So you're thinking in very small chunks and just being honest and real. And I have to say, you are a great mentor to do that. So thank you for what you've given to Joe and I on that challenge. You'll see us quite soon. And to our listeners, we would highly encourage joining in and participating. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing such a wealth of your own journey in being able to mentor so many people. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks so much for being with us today. For us to inspire others to live their magnificently imperfect life, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or on your podcast app. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Pods with Posh and Pool. We can't wait for you to join us on our next episode. Love, light and peace.